What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celios Network. Today we're just going to do a quick recap of the Day 1 EUIC results, the European International Championships, which is going on over in Germany the weekend of April 22nd and 23rd, or 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So Day 1 has completed. We know the players that are all making Day 2 in the Masters division of the trading card game, and we're here on PokeStats main website. They have a lot of great information, like the previous major events, the most played archetypes, and the winners of those events, and then we have all of the streamed matches with links as well. So I'm just going to be going over talking about some of the notable players that are up high, the decks that are in Day 2, and kind of what I expected, what I didn't expect, and what I am excited to see tomorrow. So let's start out with the kind of the previous information that we have here on PokeStats. So at Brisbane, Salt Lake, Liverpool, and Sao Paulo, Mew VMAX was the most played archetype at all of them. I believe at Salt Lake, Liverpool, and Sao Paulo, if you combined all Arceus variants, they were either near Mew or above Mew at some of them. But just single decks, Mew has been the most popular deck at every one. It only won Brisbane though. So the streamed games, or I should say, going into this event, I expected a good amount of top players to be at least testing Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX variants. I had never expected that almost every group of top players would have ended up bringing Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. I knew they were all testing it. It was an obvious thing to test, but I didn't think they would all pull the trigger or come to the conclusion that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX was the play. It doesn't happen that often that different groups of players from around the world all come to the same kind of deck as the answer to the metagame. So quite interesting. We see round one was Tord Reglev versus Magnus Peterson. Now, Tord was playing a very similar list to the list that Robin won Liverpool regionals with. Rapid Strike, Urshifu, and Teleon with Galarian Moltres. Toolbox kind of deck. Whereas Magnus was playing Arceus VSTAR with a Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX and Beedrill, which we have seen decks like this before, but Magnus was also playing Bibarel in it. Whereas something like Charlie Lockier's Desert Storm deck, which had Sandaconda, but you could plug in Urshifu, you could plug in Lycanroc VMAX, whatever you want in that spot. They were not playing Bibarel. Those were just kind of like Crobats and Cramomatics and Luminions and getting the stuff you need that way, which I still like the Desert Storm skeleton better from what I've compared to what I saw for Magnus's deck. But I believe Magnus ended up making Day 2 as well as Tord. So we started out with a Rapid Strike focused deck versus an Arceus variant with Rapid Strike in it. That was our streamed game, so I don't think people would have expected that. I certainly didn't expect to see Rapid Strike versus Rapid Strike multiple times throughout the stream of Day 1. Maybe Day 2, but I didn't expect it for Day 1. And then round 2, Gustavo Wada playing a deck very similar to Tord's variant, very similar to the Limitless variant. I'm told that this is the list that somebody got top 16 or top 32 at Sao Paulo with, but no confirmation on that. And Igor playing straight Arceus with Galarian Moltres, Baby Galarian Moltres, which is a popular package. Some people play just Water Energy, some people toss the Galarian Moltres package. It's all Arceus and Teleon to me. You're just picking option A or option B to try to beat Mew. And the first one Tord won, the second one Gustavo won. This is positive for Gustavo in round 2. Round 3, we have Fabian from Limitless versus Pedro from Limitless, both playing Rapid Strike, Urshifu VMAX, and Teleon. You guys know the drill. So it's crazy that the first 3 rounds there were 5 Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX decks. Now I don't think that represents the field. I think Mew VMAX was more popular. Was first most popular, and then Arceus and Teleon was probably second. Rapid Strike Urshifu probably around the 3rd, 4th, or 5th popularity mark, but still a lot of top players that are getting on stream were playing Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Here we have Elena Gomez I believe that's Elena from Gaia Force TCG. It might be a different Elena, not entirely sure. Playing Mew VMAX versus Pablo Meza, playing Arceus Intel, and Elena won with Mew VMAX. Here we have on stream was Nico with Rapid Strike versus Ty with an Arceus box deck featuring Sylveon VMAX. So that's really heads up if they thought that top players would be bringing Rapid Strike Urshifu. Here we have Frank Persick versus Gabe Smart, Whimsicott VSTAR versus Mew VMAX. Now, Whimsicott VSTAR has a game plan to beat Mew VMAX. It is built to be able to beat Mew VMAX, but the problem is if you watch the stream match, Gabe goes turn one Melodious Echo and, does aggressive Mew VMAX deck things. And no matter what you're playing, most decks can lose to that. Even if you're built to beat Mew, Mew is running on all cylinders. I think Mew can beat just about any of its counters. Gabe Smart ended up winning that match 2-0. Next, we had a Mew Mirror, the only Mew Mirror on stream all day between this player whose name I don't know and will not butcher versus Hetty Brahmi. And player won 2-0. And then round 7, Finnegan Lynch, Daniel Lynch, playing the same list from Frank, except this time the Whimsicott deck won on stream versus Rahul Reddy playing Rapid Sugar Urshifu VMAX. Round 8 was Sander Wojcik's Umbreon VMAX control. Very cool deck. You use Sun and Moon badge so Umbreon can't get bossed, and you let it take a hit, or retreat it to the bench, let another one take a hit, Cheryl them with, the Goss loop happening. Very cool stuff. 1-1-0 versus an Arc Inteleon with Galarian Moltres package. And then in round 9, Isaiah Bradner and John Ang, who I believe traveled together for the event, but then ended up playing different decks. Isaiah won with the Rapid Strike Toolbox variant. And yeah, and then we have some top players here, but we can scroll up to see which of those players actually ended up making it into day 2. So, Tord ended up going undefeated, 8-0-1, with a refined version of the list that he helped build that Robin won with, that Tord actually picked. He chose to play Mew VMAX instead of this in Liverpool, but I suppose now he thinks the time was right and the list was perfect, or at least as close to perfect as it was getting. So Tord will be going into tomorrow's event as the first seed. Gustavo Wada with a very similarly built deck at seed 2, which is crazy. These players picked the right deck, and they're playing that deck well. Reggie, I think it's pronounced Reggie. They've actually performed really well in some of the Celio's stats events that I've held on Limitless. They're playing Arceus Inteleon with a Beedrill package, something similar probably to what Andrew Mahone played in Salt Lake City. Frank with Whimsicott at 4th seed. Then we have some Mew. We have Ty's Arceus Sylveon VMAX. It might sound like I'm just running down the line and talking about every deck, but we have so many unique things standing out here all in a row. Like, I'm not going to talk about everybody's playing Mew VMAX. Of course, there's a bunch of Mew VMAX that did well. It's the best deck in format, but there's a lot of players playing interesting stuff. We have Zach Cooper playing, again, Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Who'd have thunk? Inteleon Galarian Moltres with the Rowlet Birdkeeper package. So Rowlet is really cool. I also saw that Grant Manley was playing Birdkeeper Rowlet. This is something that we had identified as well as a way to take out the Dunsparce that Arceus will have on the bench for free. Because if Rowlet says if you've played Birdkeeper this turn, it attacks for free. And its attack does 60 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So you could just snipe the Dunsparce and then continue hitting Arceus for weakness. And then we have an Arceus, Rapid Strike Urshifu, Inteleon Beedrill deck. Whereas down here, Magnus Peterson's Arceus, Rapid Strike Urshifu Beedrill deck is with Bibarel, not with Inteleon. But we also see another player here, Arceus, Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, Inteleon Beedrill. So, I think a lot of the questions in the comments are probably going to be about all of this Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, and why did so many people decide to bring Urshifu VMAX? And how did some people know that other people were going to be bringing Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX? So obviously, it's not like a secret that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX is good because Robin did win an event with it. But I think that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX being paired with Galarian Moltres and winning Liverpool showed that it can potentially beat Mew VMAX. But also Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, not only does it hit weakness against Arceus, it also destroys the bench of Bibarel decks and Inteleon decks, which are most, if not all, of the non Mew VMAX decks that are popular. We could also look at something like Gengar Houndoom. That support line can be knocked out by Rapid Flows. Malamar, even though it has type advantage, Rapid Strike Malamar is weak into the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX matchup. One thing that I think is completely bereft here in the standings, unless we just don't know that the players are playing it, or I could be missing it listed here, is I think this this day 2 metagame looks like free breakfast for Arceus Duraludon VMAX. Um, just on paper, I think it looks really, really good for Arceus Duraludon VMAX. And I think a lot of players banked on nobody playing Arceus Duraludon VMAX. One of the meta discussions leading up to this week that Alex Shemansky was on, he actually gave Arceus Duraludon VMAX respect, which I think pretty much across the board, a lot of top players were just saying, no, it's a bad deck, don't play it. So I really agreed with Alex Shemansky on that, you know, Arceus Duraludon VMAX could do well considering what everybody brings. And that's something to always keep in mind, that anything can do well. Like, look, Whimsicott VSTAR, top of the line player, Frank Persick in 4th seed, and my boy Finnegan Lynch somewhere down here, 36th seed with the same 60 on Whimsicott VSTAR, and also Connor Fintone and the Fintones is playing a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX version, which I have yet to see the list for, but that sounds neat. Also Whimsicott VSTAR. So like Whimsicott VSTAR, not that great, right? Hasn't been doing that amazing. It's gotten a couple little performances here and there, but today it's looking like it's just a regular old meta deck, you know, few top players playing it, all making day 2. Things, you know, as the meta develops and counter decks come out and the meta goes into that counter meta, then the counter to the counter meta starts happening. And then we just eventually wrap back to whatever originally the meta looked like, you know, Arceus Duraludon VMAX and Mew VMAX and straight Arceus. So yeah, I'm really curious to see if any of these names we don't know about are playing Arceus Duraludon, and then to see how they do in the tournament. Yeah, so I think that's all we're going to talk about today, but if you want to check this out, it's on ptcgstats.com, and they have all the links for the official stream links and things like that. And probably when this video uploads will only be like a handful of hours away before the day 2 stream goes up. So leave any comments you want down there, or join the Discord to discuss further about the metagame here. But thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.